Good morning, LKN. Justin Kazepa, 734. Bill's on the sticks. Bill, you're from Huntersville. Like you moved to Atlanta for a short time, but prior to that, you and I, we went to Hopewell High.
Yes.
We grew up on the streets of Huntersville.
Yes, indeed.
Caused a lot of trouble.
Indeed.
Tried not to.
Yeah, no, I did not cause trouble. Sorry, I was agreeing without listening.
Oh, okay, got it.
But no, I did not cause any trouble.
The perfect resident of the town.
Perfect resident.
That's what Mama Dukes wants to hear every time.
Yes.
And so we got to talk about Huntersville. Huntersville, a lot going on, and so we're very humbled. We're excited. We are joined now on the phone by Mayor Melinda Bales, the mayor of Huntersville. Mayor Bales, how are we doing this morning?
I'm doing great. How about yourself?
Another day in paradise. I tell you, there's nothing like this area that we live in. Beautiful Lake Norman, all the way from Huntersville, all the way north to Statesville. Just a beautiful community to live in. Do you like Huntersville?
Oh, I love Huntersville. Come on now. I thought we'd already established that.
Sorry, I had to mess with you a little bit there coming in. Come on now. All right. Are you in Huntersville today, or are you traveling the state today?
I am in Huntersville today.
Okay.
We have a lot going on. We'll have a new business opening up in Burkdale today. So there's going to be a ribbon cutting. So all of your listeners out there, if they want to swing into Burkdale at Monkeys, the Lake Norman Chamber is hosting a ribbon cutting for them. We're excited to have them as a part of our new business community.
That's exciting. So what? So do you know what do they sell? What is you said monkey?
At Monkeys, it is a women's boutique.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Now I don't want to get into
I
some discrimination. There's a lot of love to the ladies in Burkdale right now in the clothing store. Are we working on getting like Polo or Lacoste or anything or what's another good dude one? Hilfiger, maybe something like that. What do you think?
Oh, well, that I think that we should be working on that. How about it?
Now, Huntersville's got a big celebration this year. 150 years. What's it been like being mayor at such a pivotal time in the town's history?
You know, I was on the board when we started having the conversation around the 150th and transitioning into the role of mayor. It has been very exciting to be the mayor in Huntersville. I mean, you only turn 150 once, right? And so it's wonderful to see the community coming together. And that was one of the reasons that I felt so strongly that we needed to take a moment, take a year, and just really celebrate who we were, who we are, and where we're going.
There's a lot of accomplishments to celebrate. It seems like Huntersville, while doesn't get a lot of headlines, let's say from the Charlotte area, but on a national scale, I mean, Huntersville's been recognized by Forbes, by many of the CNBC. A lot of the national publications list Huntersville as one of the best areas in the country to live. Do you agree or disagree with that?
Oh, I wholeheartedly agree. I wholeheartedly agree. It truly is, and I will tell you. And as we're celebrating this 150 years of Huntersville's incorporation, you know, it's exciting to see the business community coming out and supporting and promoting, you know, not only their business, but really getting into it. You know, Primal Brewery is having a 150th celebration on August the 26th, and they're going to be featuring a special 150th anniversary beer release on the 26th. So that's just next week.
Wow.
Hopefully everybody will come out and enjoy that. I mean, that's cool, right?
It's a cool spot. Primal's a cool spot. I always mixed up. Mayor Bales, maybe help me out here. 21 and 115. I always just, having lived here forever, I just always say Statesville and Old Statesville. Can you help clarify which one is which?
So 115 is Old Statesville, and then 21 is Statesville.
Okay, now I feel better about myself. So 115, Primal's just on 115. They've always got like a food truck out there. It's kind of like just open air outside. Great venue, great location. And that leads to the business community of Huntersville is so diverse. What's your favorite part of Huntersville?
Oh, I don't know that I can tell you a favorite part because I actually love it all. I love the way our small businesses come together. We have large corporations headquartered here. We have beautiful landscapes in the rural areas of our community, from Rural Hill and Latta to out east in the private conservation land that's out 73 out that corridor. I mean, there's truly is something for everyone.
I drove
So there, how
through.
do you choose?
I gave Bill some homework, told him to drive through the Huntersville Business Park because my goodness, what the amount of activity going on there now. I mean, 20 years ago, that was so much just wooded area. There were a few businesses obviously in there, but at this point, the Huntersville Business Park is getting full right now. What is it do you think that's driving all of these companies to want to come to Huntersville?
Well, I think we've really already touched on a lot of that with the quality of life that we have here in our community. But I have to say, 20 minutes from an international airport, really, that's a great value add, right? You can be out in the middle of the country. You can be right in the thick of it, in the center of Huntersville. And if you need to fly off to, London or Munich, you've got flights. It's just it's a great place to be.
Economic development, right? A major part of a
Yeah.
town and its survival, its thriving ability. What's the future, do you think, for Huntersville as it relates to economic development?
Well, I think that really the future can be endless. I think that future boards are going to need to make tough decisions. I think that, we are truly blessed where we have the ability to choose. And I think that's something that most folks forget, especially, in such a wide state that we live in. We actually do have the ability to choose to a degree. We're not necessarily interested from an economic perspective, distribution centers, just solely distribution. I don't know that that works in our community. But advanced manufacturing, healthcare, we want to encourage the IT community to really move into not only Huntersville, but to the Lake Norman region. I mean, those are things that we need to be purposeful in planning and encouraging that type of growth.
I'm going to have to ask you the uncomfortable question now of transportation because everyone
Oh,
is like, while all this stuff is going on, it's great, but I'm in a parking lot on 73 and maybe Gilead. And so what is Huntersville looking at to improve some transportation scenarios?
so we have on this November, we've got a bond package that we're putting in front of the voters. And we have two packages, one section which is a $50 million bond package specific to transportation, and then the other is $8 million that will go directly to Parks and Rec to keep up the parks as Huntersville continues to grow. We need to be able to provide those resources as well. But the number one goal of our citizens, we've heard them. I mean, when you do surveys, it's road infrastructure and it's parks. So that's the blend. And, I will say this, I'm very hopeful that the voters will also see that when they go to the ballot box, that we're really listening to them and we're putting our money where our mouth is and helping drive those road infrastructure projects. We've got several already coming out of the ground. You'll see that when you drive down Old Statesville at Maine and the roundabouts we're putting in. You see that with the Gilead and 21 interchange and widening there at exit 23. Future will be widening 21 up to 73, and then of course the big one, Highway 73, Sam Fur, that area and that interchange being addressed, and that project is supposed to start as of right now in 2026.
Is
So a lot
23
happening.
is Gilead going to be a diverging diamond? Is that what I saw in the plan? It's a diverging diamond going in on 23. Is that right?
Yes, That's correct. And they're building a separate bridge. So you'll see a lot of the bridge work happening. Now they've gotten a lot of the foundational work done. If you drive by it on 77, you can see that. Um, but yes, it will be a diverging diamond. It will be a pretty large diverging diamond, similar to what you might see over off of 485. And let's say, Prosperity or Mallard Creek, that Mallard Creek exit, it
Oh,
will look like that.
okay, seeing diverging diamonds pop up. Radio fam, we're going to take a break. Digital fam, we're sticking with you. We're talking with Mayor Melinda Bales, the mayor of Huntersville. We're going to get a little personal here, digital fam. I'm going to ask some top-notch journalism personal questions. So WSICnews.com or all the social platforms. Radio fam, we will rejoin with you momentarily. Stick around. You're listening to Good Morning LKN 844 Studio 4 if you want to be part of the conversation. All right, Mayor Bales, we are still on video stream for our digital fam. So tell the truth. Favorite restaurant in Huntersville, go.
Oh, I can't do that.
Come
There's
on.
too many. I I I I can't do that. There's way too many. Truly too many. Um,
Do you pack a
I mean,
lunch?
there
Like
are.
like go into the office? Like, do you pack a lunch or do you frequent, food establishments throughout the town given like your job?
No, I frequent food establishments. I believe in supporting local, and so I love getting out and chatting with folks and chatting with our restaurateurs and um, encouraging them and helping them, right, in any way I can, because we want them to be successful.
Being mayor isn't your first gig in the political arena. You've worked in the town of Huntersville from a political perspective, been elected multiple times before. What's it been like, kind of going up and now being mayor? We're going to talk about your state level stuff here shortly, if that's okay with you, when we rejoin with the radio fam. But I want to hear what's it been like going through different positions within the town.
I would tell you that it has truly been a learning experience. I served for 10 years on the Huntersville Town Board, and then now mayor, so another two on top of that. So 12 years total in local government. And I've learned a lot. And I've learned that relationships matter. I think that it's very important that we don't live in silos. So I've been truly blessed to be able to work with my counterparts to the north, Mayors Washam and Knox. They love their communities just as much as I love Huntersville, and it's been great to work with them. But the other piece in the role of mayor, which has been a little bit different than necessarily at the board level in the region, has been able to connect with the mayors from the southern towns and the mayor from Charlotte, and to build relationship. Right? We all have the same issues. The scale of the issues, you know, that's where that's where maybe the differences lie. But we all have the same issues. We're growing by leaps and bounds, and we need to figure out and work together as a region on how to move things forward.
And
So I do think that was a huge thing. The other piece I would tell you is that, serving on the town board, and then also now as mayor, having the opportunity to serve on boards like the League of Municipality. I serve on that board of directors and board, and we work with municipalities from across the state, and talking with municipality leaders around the state is also interesting.
Mayor Bale, sorry
How
to cut you. We're
we
rejoining
kind of
radio
align.
right now. Hold on for me 1 second.
Oh, great. Sure.
Good morning, LKN. 748. Justin Kazepis, Bills on the Sticks. We've got Mayor Melinda Bales, the mayor of Huntersville, with us, joining us on the phone. Radio fan, we've now rejoined you. Digital fan, we're still here. WSICnews.com. You can be watching the video stream, also all the social platforms. And if you want to go back and watch this content, it's available on demand for you wherever you digest your content. Mayor Bales, you were talking about the bond package, and that's coming up in November. Is there something specific that the town has planned to utilize the dollars for at this point, or is it let's get the money in the coffers and then come up with a strategy after?
Oh no, we always have a strategy behind what we do. I mean, we have close to $200 million of capital improvement projects in our capital improvement plan. So when I say 200 million, but we're only asking for 58, we wanted to make sure that we could really accomplish the goals, right? And making sure that we kept projects moving. And we didn't want to overreach. We didn't want to ask residents to fund something that, we didn't have a plan for. So it's like, let's start at this is the 50 and $8 million mark. And if we can get those projects really moving and get done and spend those dollars, then we'll come back and ask. And I think that's the most responsible thing to do.
Something else you've been working on, you've got the mayoral task force for affordable housing that's happening in Huntersville. What's it been like? Do you think that, as you've gone through the meetings and gone through hearing from professionals and citizens and different organizations and groups throughout the community, do you think it's moving the needle forward? What's your overall gut telling you now as it kind of starts to wind down here in the next couple of months?
I think this is the first step. Huntersville hasn't had a need before now to really look at housing affordability because we had it. Post COVID coming out, that dynamic has certainly changed, and I think that it's the beginning steps, right? It's educational. We'll need to be doing some educational pieces for our community as well, but housing is considered, and for the audience, housing is considered affordable if a family spends no more than 30% of their income to live there. And as of September in 2022, the average two-bedroom rent in our area was $1,900. And that means someone would have to earn $68,400 per year to afford an average two-bedroom unit. And so that leaves a lot of people, like our police officers, like our nurses and CNAs and dental assistants, and those people, it's pricing them out of the market to where they can't live in the communities that they serve. So we do have to figure out a way to address the problem. There's not a silver bullet, if you will, but we hopefully will be making some inroads. And the task force, and thank you for sitting on that task force. I have to tell you, you bring such value to the conversation. And I appreciate the fact that you care so much. But I'm hopeful that the board, once they hear this information and see the short-term and long-term goals that the task force is laying out, that we'll be able to then start moving the needle in some form or fashion.
There's definitely not a one-size-fits-all, and we all agree on that. It's always just the hard part of what's the starting point, right? Like how do you just put a foot forward? And one of the things we were talking about at the last meeting that's so important is culture, and just letting the community know that you care and that you are actively, genuinely trying to figure out a plan, because there's so many different scenarios to consider. And you know this already. We've talked about it before. You've been a guest on my other show, Today's Real Talk, before, and we talked about affordable housing. That term is just it's gotten so hard to quantify what it means. And so for housing affordability, we're just flipping those words around. I think that's more relatable, right? I think we can all then put ourselves in our own perspective and say, yeah, housing affordability, that makes sense in trying to figure it out. But not everyone's going to agree. And I think that's part of the realization we all have to accept. There's no way to benefit everybody all the time, but for everyone to know that positive steps are being taken, attempts are being made, shooters shoot. That's my big theme of my life. And I appreciate your willingness to at least attempt to do something to help improve and keep everyone on the right track. So I will say thank you. Now let's switch gears, okay? You're currently mayor of Huntersville. You're running for a House of Representatives, District 98, currently seat held by Representative John Bradford. What's going on? You're tired of Huntersville and you're ready to go to Raleigh? What's the deal here, Mayor Bales?
Well, I will say this: the 12 years that I've worked in local government, I really do see, in many instances where rubber really does meet the road, lands at the state. And so a lot of the things like transportation funding, that comes through the state. And being able to move the needle in a way that um, helps our helps District 98, that helps our region move people. That's just one example of why I've decided to throw my name into that hat. And as you're aware, Representative Bradford has stated he's going to run for state treasurer. So that leaves that seat open, and I believe I'm the right person to fill that role. I understand the needs of our region. I understand the needs of the district, and I really do believe that I can to make positive change. And whether it's transportation, whether it's economic development, and making sure that not only our region but our state is viable and is successful, it matters. The people that sit in those seats, it matters. Education is another one. As you are aware, I've served for the last 10 years as the co-chair of the Lake Norman Education Collaborative, which is the educational arm of the chamber, but working with area businesses and area schools, specifically our high schools, to make sure that they have the education that they need to move into the career choices that they're going to make when they come out of high school, whether it's going on to for certifications or a 2-year degree or a 4-year year degree or going into the workplace. We've got to set up systems that are impactful, and they're so that when local leaders tell potential companies who want to move into your area that you can provide them with a skilled workforce, you mean it. It's very important that we keep our word in local government. It's very important that we keep our word in state government.
Your role as mayor.
And so that's a big reason.
Sorry about that. Your role as mayor has also included, discussions in the budget, right? When you put forward particular items you would like to see as part of the budget. And so the state level is no different. Budget is a big conversation right now, right? Republicans are working hard to get it done. They're working with Democrats, both sides of the aisle. Everybody wants to get a budget that fits as many needs as possible for the citizens of North Carolina. What's your take then on that process and financially being a good steward with the entire budget of the state? How do you see yourself having the skills to balance that and the requirements that takes?
I think that they've got a lot of financial experts sitting up in Raleigh, and being able to look at the needs of our state and being able then to drill down and allocate funding as necessary while still being fiscally responsible with those dollars is critical. And so, I've done that at the local level. At the local level, we're required to have a budget passed by state law. It has to be passed by the last day in June, so that our fiscal year starts July 1. And for 12 years, for longer than that, every municipality passes their budget, and it's a balanced budget. You're required to have a balanced budget. I'd love to see more of that at the state, and more of a sense of urgency, because those budget dollars do actually impact real people. So I'd love to see a little bit more of that and tightening that process up.
The Republicans right now are working toward a 0% income tax level for North Carolina. Are you in favor of that, against that? What's your take on that?
A 0% income tax. I think that I will admit, I have not taken a deep dive into that. I think there are pros and cons to it, but I certainly know that when you set policy, you've got to look at the ramifications, both positive and negative, and figure out how you mitigate as much of the negative as possible. So I will be taking a harder look into that in the future. Right now, my goal is to finish mayor very strong, make sure that Huntersville is on a solid path when I turn over those reins in December.
Focused. You got to finish the mission. You got
That's right.
you got to do what you've been called to do. Renaissance Fair coming up in Huntersville, right? It's in, right, technically, is that Concord line? Is that technically in Huntersville? Renaissance Fair is a big deal around here, Mayor Bales.
It's in Huntersville. It truly is in Huntersville. You've got the Renaissance Festival on the east side. You've got the amazing maze out at Rural Hill on the west side. So you got plenty of options as we move into the fall season. And I will also tell you, I would be remiss if I didn't, that come September the 23rd, Huntersville is going to be having a huge event. It's called Huntersville Hay Days. And this is our big 150th celebration for our sesquicentennial. It's 2 to 8, and there's going to be something for everyone. So I really want to make sure that the region comes out and supports Huntersville Hay Days. There's going to be something, like I said, something for everyone, from children's rides and inflatables to carnival games and miniature train rides and music from our local performers.
All
And
fun
then a
stuff. Mayor
really
Bales, I'm sorry I got to cut you off. I appreciate you coming on the show. We got a hard break coming up. Mayor Melinda Bales of the town of Huntersville. You can check out the interview anywhere on the social that we distribute content.
Thanks so much.
The new.
Thanks, Mayor Bales. Thank you again for joining us on the phone earlier. We appreciate it. We had Mayor Melinda Bales of the town of Huntersville celebrating 150 years. That's impressive. It's a long time to survive. It's a struggle on these streets these days. You survive 150 years, you're doing something right. So shout out to Huntersville for doing things right. We appreciate her time. Appreciate everybody's time. Appreciate your time this morning. You on your way to work?